I nearly said good evening, because that's what I normally say. I mean, good afternoon, everybody, past councillors and also new councillors and the officers, of course. Just a bit of housekeeping before we continue with our meeting. I'd like to obviously welcome you all and any members of the public here as well. Reminder, please switch your mobile phones to either off or silent, please. I think the worst thing is we say this every time, and I can guarantee halfway through a meeting, a phone will go. So please, if it's, you know, you need to go, that's fine, but put it on silent if you need to keep an eye on it, or else off. No? Okay, so I don't need to do that. Anybody virtual? Okay. Right, the meeting is being recorded and will be available in due course on the council's YouTube channel. To ensure that those attending virtually and in person, and I believe we don't have any today, please also, but it's something to remember for future, because we do have people that attend virtually. Please speak up. The other thing I would ask as well, because we have a lot of new councillors, and not everybody, even myself, don't know everyone yet. Please, when you stand up, you wish to speak, please obviously raise your hand, then stand up, and please introduce yourself so that everybody else knows who you are. I might go, yes, councillor. Forgive me, I'm not being rude, it's because I don't know you yet. And I might, like as happens with older councillors, brain fog, and someone's I thought surname. But it's not me being rude, you know, I do get there eventually. The other thing is, it's a formal meeting, therefore do not refer to each other by first name. So it'll be councillor, so-and-so, councillor, so. There is no fire alarm plan. Therefore, the fire alarm sounds, officer will direct you to the nearest exit from the meeting room onto the car park. Okay. Sorry, do you wish to speak?
No, not. Sorry, Chairman, you stirring me up.
Thank you. Okay. Before we start the agenda, I have Chairman's remarks. In my last year, I've done a lot for the Queen's canopy. I'm going to get it wrong again. A lot of tree planting for lots of the homes up the woodlands as well. And I've just got the plaques now to go on, which I'll be giving out to the relevant homes, the plaques for the trees with myself and Lady Aaron. So we did quite well. I think it's also on the map, the Google Maps, to do with you go on the Queen's canopy map, you will see all the places in North Devon where all the trees have been planted. So, and we've done really well down here for the initiative that we've given. We did really, really well. I also had a civic service. I have, besides attending lots of civic services and that, I have my own in February, which the money raised went to Sir Francis Chichester Outward Bounds, which is for children disadvantaged in schools that are put forward by their teachers and that, for to go on a course, and it's to give them confidence. You know, some of them suffer mental health issues, and it's to give them that confidence and meeting with other people. And we've had quite a good success rate on that one. Also, the events during this last year of 22-23, obviously Queen passed away, and we've also seen the coronation of King Charles III on May the 6th. Okay, first of all, I'd also like to thank Joe Tucker, but he's not here, for being my consort the last year. And Joe was really, really good. I thought he was going to hang on to the vice chair medal, and I had to remind him to bring it James, and I had to remind him to bring them back because he got quite attached to them. But he did a fantastic job helping me, supporting me, and so my thanks to him. Also, wasn't my consort, no, but he was in a way, because I only came to a couple of engagements, most of the Joe attended, so he was my vice chair and my consort. I just read that. Thanks to the secretary. Are you my secretary, Glenn? In a sense. So for that, I'd like to say thank you very much, Glenn, for all, and this is just something to say a really big thank you, because you've given me a lot of support this year. Thank you. Also, like to thank Bev and John and I've got a little something for them because, once again, you know, there are lots of people behind the scenes. And it's just to say thank you because they really do. And unless you're in this position, or even leader, the leaders will know you get a lot of support. And they do give you a lot of support as councillors as well, you know, from the Office of Home Member Services. I massively thank you. They will give you, they are there for you for anything you want to know or unsure about. They give you a lot of support. And for me in my role, I've had quite a lot of support. Because I've had to bend his ear every 5 minutes. I've screamed at him, shouted at him, and he turned up at both my civic services. So big thank you to you on that. That was really kind of you. But yes, and I've got one for my chaplain, but Dick couldn't be here today. I was getting a bit worried, but something's cropped up. He's not able to attend and he's had to send his apologies. So I will actually drop that off to him on my way home. So on that, we will now go on to, if I haven't forgotten anything else, I'll go on to the agenda. So, and I will hand over to Ken Miles, CEO. Do that bit.
So item 1 on the agenda, ladies and gentlemen, is the election of the chair of council for 23-24. Traditionally, I ask for nominations, please, for that post and second.
Nominate councillor Hunt.
Councillor Hunt. Seconder. Any other nominations for that? Okay, if we can take the vote, all in favour of councillor Hunt taking that position? Any against? Any abstentions? No. Thank you very much. Congratulations to you.
Thank you. I'm trying not to say off too much.
I'm going to say you start with that, because that's what I do.
And that concludes my employment as chair. You can please say.
Yeah, just thank you very much for voting me in again. And I won't let the council down. I'll take my role very seriously. I might not be very knowledgeable like a lot of you older councillors, but I always look. No, I take older in wiseness of being on the council, not in age. Because I do look to some of the older ones like Malcolm, John, and some of the other ones that have been here longer than me. I've been here 18 years and Liz. For guidance sometimes because they are knowledgeable in their thing and they are ones that you can speak to and look up to as well and ask questions. So thank you very much on that. Right. Can I now? The page. Now, election, item 2, election of Vice Chair of Council for 2023-2024. Can I have nominations, please? Councillor York.
There's a nominate councillor Walker, please.
Thank you. Do I have a seconder? Thank you, councillor Tops. All in favour? Anyone against? Any abstentions? Congratulations.
I'm running away now.
Look, the record. This one first. There we go.
I'm not.
I'd just like to thank you very much for everybody for voting for me, and I hope I can be as much support to Julie and the council as my predecessor.
Okay, lovely. Item 3, apologies for absence.
Yes, Chair, received apologies from councillors Danton, Ricky Knight, Renshaw and Stevenson.
Item 4, declarations of interest.
I've received none, Chair.
Thank you. Item 5, to agree the agenda between Part A and Part B, and there's no Part B, so we're going to carry on with Part A. Part A, item 6. Councillor Warden.
Thank you. I'd just like to say a big thank you before I nominate Ian on councillor room to be leader for the support that I received during the last 4 years when I was leader of the council. I really enjoyed working for the council. It is quite an onerous task that councillor room, if you're elected, is going to take on. But it is one that's very enjoyable because North Devon is very special. And I'd like to really say that I'm sure that Councillor Room will do a fantastic job for this council and be a really good representative for us. So I'd like to nominate Councillor Room. Thank you.
Do I have a seconder? Councillor Price.
Chair, can I just say, I'm very pleased to second this. I'm leader of an independent group, which is quite interesting these last couple of weeks because we're quite a broad church. And I think it's a strength for the council that we've been able to work together as a group. We've got people on with very different political views, but our main aim is to promote the interests of the people of North Devon. And with that in mind, we're prepared to help work with the new administration because we think that's what people of North Devon expect from us. Interestingly enough, the Liberal Democrats have come back with 22 seats thanks to the first past the post system. If you actually look at the figures, you know, it is. If you look at the figures, But what I'm saying, Dan, I want to be positive, and I really did enjoy 4 years working with David Warden, who is a proper gentleman, and did a really good job. And so thank you, David, for that. And I look forward that we can work with Ian Room in the next 4 years, Chair. So I'm happy to second.
Thank you. Sorry, no, I had a fly right in my face then. Right. Right, we've had a proposer, we've had a seconder. All in favour? Anyone against? Any abstentions? Thank you, carried. Councillor Room?
Yeah.
Congratulations.
So-
Would you like to say anything?
Congratulations, I'll tell you that after next year. But seriously, thank you very much for giving me the mandate to be the leader of North Devon Council. One thing has taught me in the last, since the election is negotiations are a tricky job. And actually, one thing that's kept me going is our community that is elected. It doesn't matter who they've elected, we're here for the people of North Devon, and we want the best for North Devon going forward. So I'm really happy that we've started on a thing where we can all work together for the best of our communities. And I think that's what the communities in North Devon want. They want politicians to work together to make it a greater good for them. We will be setting our priorities, which I hope everyone will get involved with, our corporate priorities going forward. Knocking on the doors, as you will know yourselves when you've been going out canvassing, it's all about housing, about the cost of living, about roads, although they're nothing to do with us, we can love it. But there's lots of issues that have been happening here in North Devon that the community have been told, that we've been told. One of the other ones is the crime and disorder. Things with antisocial behaviour, attracting people to stay here from our local communities to make sure that the economic regeneration is happening here in North Devon. So Those are things that we need to address as a council, but going forward, my door will be always open to anyone, no matter about any political or non-political allegiance you've got. We've got to work together for the better of our community. My door is always open, and let's make my tenure for the next 12 months, especially to benefit our local communities, because that's what we can bring the best for our children, our kids, grandparents, or whatever. So, yeah, thank you very much for putting the trust in me, and I look forward to working with each and every one of you to better our community going forward. Thank you. Thank you.
Item 7, appointment of deputy leader of the council for 2023-24. Nominations, please. Councillor Room.
As said previously, the knowledge and expertise of a true gentleman of North Devon, County David Warden, is knowledgeable. He's been there for the council. I'd like to propose for deputy leader council.
Thank you. Do I have a seconder?
Yeah, second, councillor Knight.
Thank you. All in favour? Anyone against?
Yourself, David.
Any abstentions?
Want to be unanimous, you know.
Item 8, appointment of committees. These should be circulated to you. I'm going to pass over to Ken to report.
Thanks, Chair. And apologies, Chair, apologies, members. You will have received a number of documents come through on your iPads quite late on. But hopefully you've now received all of those documentation. And you'll have gathered from the start of this meeting up the agenda for those new members amongst us, that the annual council is where we get rid of the fairly crucial sort of housekeeping items ready for the year ahead. And one of the important ones is around appointing the committees and appointing the members to those committees. So that's what item 8 is about. It's broken down into a number of different headings, but I'll try and do all of them together if I may. So the first point is to appoint the committees, and you'll see in your agenda papers, you should have the report which shows at table 1 the politically balanced committees. There are a number of committees within the council that are politically balanced, and there are 2 where special arrangements are required to be voted on today, which wouldn't be politically balanced. But to start with, we're just dealing with the politically balanced ones. And they are the Building Control Joint Committee, Governance Committee, Harbour Board, Licensing and Community Safety, the North Devon CREM, Planning Committee, Policy Development Committee, and Strategy and Resources Committee. And the first step is to make sure, or to put in place the arrangements. So we set up the committees, we set up the size of those committees, and then we determine the political balance that should be accorded to every political group. And that political balance is calculated by reference to a whole number of different things in legislation, and also to some provisions that we've also got in our constitution. And often there's a little bit of horse trading, because you never get whole numbers work out at the end of it. And that's the process that's gone through the group leaders at the moment. So table 1 shows you the committees, and it shows you the number of councillors on each committee. For those councillors that are returning, you will see a slight difference to last year, because the numbers on Policy Development Committee and the numbers on Strategy and Resources Committee have increased by 2 each on those committees. So Strategy and Resources has gone up to 13, and Policy Development Committee has gone up to 12. And that's something that was raised by group leaders, and I think it's been raised as part of the review of committees during the course of the year as well. That table also sets out the number of seats on that committee that are allocated to each particular group. I'll draw attention to 2 changes, or 2 main changes. In Licensing Committee and Planning Committee, the Liberal Democrat group, when we work out the political balance, should have 8 seats on both of those committees. But what they've decided to do is to give 1 seat each on both of those committees to the Conservative group and to the Liberal Democrat group. Sorry.
So you're after
And that's reflected in the numbers that you see there. So the political balance should be Liberal Democrat group having 8 seats on licensing and community safety and 8 seats on planning committee. But as I said, they've chosen to give those seats to the other groups. Table 2 then sets out the reserve list for planning committee. Because if you sit on planning committee, there is a requirement for you to be trained and to undergo continuous training to make sure that the quasi judicial function of planning within the council is exercised correctly. And that means that substitutes for planning committee can't just be drawn from the main group of members, because a lot of them won't have undergone that training. So what we've done is we've set up that substitute group from which the substitutes are drawn, as its name suggests. And that group will undergo training in the same way that the main committee will do. Now, the first 2 recommendations in your papers, 8A and 8B, deal with those issues. So they deal with the appointment of the committees, the setting up of the committees, and also the political balance. It also deals with what's contained in table 3. And this is where, having set up the committees and determined the political balance for each group, you then determine who's actually going to sit on each committee. And that's what table 3 shows. So again, through discussions with group leaders, they've nominated people to sit on those particular committees, and table 3 shows the agreement that's been reached. Skip forward to table 4. Table 4 in your paper then shows the chairs and the vice chairs of those committees. And again, there has been discussion amongst group leaders regarding that. And table 4 represents the results of those discussions. We also have table 5, and this sets out some of the formal nominations to external bodies, so principally the Local Government Association. So there is a General Assembly of the Local Government Association. There's a question mark as to whether the South West branch is still continuing. We need to look into that. If it is, we'll bring another report back. There's also the Coastal Issues Group, and there's also the District Council's Network Assembly, to which there is a councillor appointed, and also myself as Chief Executive. So table 5 sets out again what's been agreed between the group leaders. So if I can refer you to the recommendations in the report. So you have the recommendations contained in section 2 of the report, which go from 2.1 down to 2.6. And the first recommendation is that members appoint the committees set out in table 1, with the total number of voting members and the group allocation set out in that table for the whole of this municipal year, and with the terms of reference given to those committees as set out in the Constitution. There will be a slight change to one of the terms of reference to the Governance Committee later on in the agenda under item 11, but that change will take effect subject to this. Under 2.2, this is where members are being asked to agree the names going on to those committees, which are set out in table 3. 2.3, recommendation 2.3, is then a recommendation that council appoint the chairs and vice chairs as set out in table 4 that I referred to earlier. And 2.4 sets out the recommendation that those members set out in table 5 be appointed to the Local Government Association. Now, recommendations 2.5 and 2.6 are the slightly different ones, because these are the committees that are not politically balanced. And we've got 2 committees that aren't politically balanced. One is the Appointments Committee, and the Appointments Committee is the committee that appoints me as Chief Executive or my successor as Chief Executive. And what our Constitution says is that the membership of that should be made up of the group leaders. So, of course, that wouldn't represent the political balance on the overall council, because you've got 3 equally voting group leaders. The second committee that isn't politically balanced is the Joint Planning Policy Committee, which we operate jointly with Torres District Council. And a decision taken some time ago not to have that politically balanced, and to have the people on there that were interested in strategic planning, rather than people on there who are nominated simply to, to fill a group's seat. But what the group leaders have done is they've tried to exercise some sort of political balance over it by nominating jointly amongst themselves. And the nominations for those two committees are set out in the paper that came to you, which is titled Agenda Item 8E. So just to make clear, for the Appointments Committee, it'd be the group leaders, that's Councillors Crabb, Prowse and Room. And for the Joint Planning Policy Committee, the councillors being nominated are Councillors Bell, Crabb, David Knight, Lane, Prowse, Room and Warden. So again, from across the spectrum, political spectrum. Those are the recommendations, Chair. I'm happy to answer any questions, but that can you vote unless there are any questions, Ron.
Thank you. Councillor York.
Thank you. Yeah, just worth pointing out that the previous administration approved the committee's timetable back in January and couldn't have foreseen work-life balance on the current councillors here today. So that is why there's potentially a shortfall on the Liberal Democrat side for some of those seats. So I think where we have loaned those seats on those committees, it would be worth noting that in the minutes, please. Thank you.
Thank you. I'd like to just say on
We're doing that, should we? Won't?
sorry, on table 3 under Prem, I think we've already let Bev know. It's got my name. It should be Anne's because I'm not in the crematorium. I'm in Young Harry.
Oh.
That's not mine.
So
Councillor, sorry.
if I can just make that clear, Chair. So table 3 that I presented has got an error on it. Councillor Hunt is down as one of the representatives from the Liberal Democrat group on the joint crematorium committee, and sure it's a can.
Chairman, I got two
Oh,
additional,
sorry.
sorry.
Councillor Room.
Yeah, I was going to say, thanks for saying that, because I was going to say about yourself, Chair, not wanting to be on the creme, and it should be Councillor Can. The other one is, Paul, I made a mistake earlier with the LGA Southwest Coastal Infest Group. So it'll be Malcolm Wilkinson and Renshaw in as a reserve. But I deputy to go to one place. So that's following our discussion earlier on. So Renshaw going as the reserve to Malcolm. That's all I'm going to.
Thank you, Councillor Price.
Chairman, I need to give you two names that aren't on the list. Governance Committee is Mark Hayworth Booth. And Planning Reserve, the additional one is Frank Beedham, Councillor Beedham. And anybody got any other committee places, we're very happy to fill them.
Could I also say, we did have people in the end for some of those places, but in the interest of working together in my initial speech, we spread it out.
Councillor Renshaw.
Perhaps the leader of the Liberal Democrats could, in the interest of political balance, share some of the chairs for these positions rather than taking them all for himself. But I understand he was mandated by his members to make sure they got every single chair place. That's probably why they couldn't fill the others.
Thank you. Right. What I propose is, if no one has any objections, that we take what's just been discussed en bloc. Do I have a seconder? Thank you. All in favour? Anyone against? Any abstentions? Item 9. Item 9, appointment of league members. To consider the appointment of league members, leader to report and present nomination. I can't hear.
Shall I just explain the role of these members first?
Yes.
For members who might sit on the county council, they'll be used to this expression, league members or portfolio holders. The county council is an executive council, and so what often happens in an executive council is that those portfolio holders or league members will have delegated powers to go off and take decisions. We are not an executive council, we're what's called a committee system. And so our committees are politically balanced, as we just talked about. And so league members, unfortunately, do not have the same powers that they might have at the county council here. But so they can't take individual decisions. Decisions are still taken by our strategy and resources committee or one of the other committees, but they do still have an important role because they are the sort of figurehead for that subject, whatever it is. They also represent the council on interest groups and other bodies discussing that particular subject, and they take the lead on that area, but they don't take individual decisions. Did you want to go through the?
I can go through.
So, yeah, okay.
So basically, considering some of the feedback for the existing councillors, if you like, who are being re-elected, there was a lead member for the environment. Now, the environment is so confusing because it's such a vast area. I see Councillor Milton just having a giggle there because it is a vast, and actually, so we've talked about it and renamed it to actually what it does, and that's waste and recycling. So people understand that, the public understand waste and recycling. So we've put Councillor David Knight, who's got a special interest in that, forward as lead member. Housing is of any particular hot topic at the moment in North Devon on various scales, and Councillor Bell will be leading that one. Regeneration, economic development and planning. Well, over the last 4 years, Councillor Prowse has done an excellent job working with the regeneration projects on Ilfracombe water facility there, and the Barnstable Town Centre regeneration, which is a big major project, and it would be disastrous, I think, for the council to lose his knowledge and expertise what he's developed there. So bringing forward for that one. Coastal communities, Councillor Wilkinson's knowledge is been really appreciated over the last 4 years, getting some national coverage in the press because of his knowledge, and really put forward as a great leader and an asset to North Devon for his knowledge on promoting issues and concerns raised by our coastal communities. So Councillor Wilkinson will be the lead member for that. Commercialisation, Councillor Walker will take that on. She's a great asset on looking at that. You've done some good research on that. So thank you for showing us what you've done there, Ellen. And then I think climate is another big thing that's got loads of issues, and it's climate biodiversity, which is Councillor Wilson. And you've nominated Councillor Wilson, so I don't know if you want to just say something about it.
I actually nominated Councillor Knight.
Oh, did you?
Yeah, sorry.
All right, okay.
Just you talked about the confusion between the two roles. So we've got Councillor Knight leading both roles. So, but both, but no, it should be Ricky Knight.
All right, okay, sorry. So Councillor Knight.
So is that
Councillor Knight for climate and diversity.
Councillor Ricky Knight?
Ricky Knight, yeah, sorry. Note to councillors, we've got 2 nights now.
Sorry, could we stand in, please, thank you.
Didn't take you long, did it?
Say that is the recommendation.
Right, so that's the recommendation. Councillor Bushaw.
I just wanted, the leader went through everyone and their qualifications, but didn't go into Councillor Walker's background. As commercialisation is very important for the success of this council. I wondered if she might be able to elaborate on some of her previous experience in the role, which will work for the role.
Thank you. You're not obliged to, that's you.
No, I mean, it's something that I've always been interested in. It's something that, one of the things that when I was first elected to council, I was really interested in. And it's also commercialisation and assets, which includes all the council assets. And I have a particular interest in accessibility and making sure that all the council buildings are accessible. And also that anything that we buy or have a commercial interest in is also going to work for all of our residents, not just a small proportion of them, which includes the changing space, which I have been following with real interest in Green Lanes. The contractors very kindly let me have a look at how far they've got. And so it's that sort of thing that I'm interested in, and also in making sure that anything that we purchase for this council to have more commercial makes financial sense.
Councillor Tops.
I'd just like to say that I've had the pleasure of working with Councillor Walker for 5 years now. I can attest to her pretty forensic mind and eye for detail. I've got quite a bit of confidence now being able to be really confident in any role on this council, and I think sort of questioning it and questioning appointments is rather sort of political, so to speak, is rather repetitive, it's more minded.
Thank you. Councillor Lever.
I would also just like to say that, I mean, the last 4 years we've been working together as councillors, I have to say I'm really impressed with actually the way in which the Councillor Walker approaches things. It is, as Councillor Top says, with forensic kind of a close view of what the particular issue that she's talking about. And the other thing, of course, is that we have a fantastic bunch of staff who will be working with Councillor Walker. Councillor Walker is the lead member. She is not supposed to be out there and stuff like that. It is fantastic that we've got such brilliant staff. I would like to not only propose what the leader has proposed, but I'd like us to move on and actually stop silly backbiting.
Thank you. Councillor Roux.
Could I just do an amendment to the title, because I was the lead member for this for the last 4 years. So the acquisition of Green Lanes, and so therefore Ellen would get some of my expertise given to you as well as leader. However, the title should be commercialisation and resources, because it is about the resources that the council's got as well. I noticed that it was missing off the title.
Thank you. So we've had a mover, we've had a seconder now on this. All in favour? Thank you. Anyone against? Any abstentions? Sorry, thank you. Item 10, appointments to outside bodies.
Thank you, Chair. Fellow members, the report seeks the appointment of representatives to outside bodies as contained in Appendix A to the report. The updated appendix was circulated today with the nominations for discussion with group leaders. That's recommendation 2.1 on the report. Recommendation 2.2 has to appoint representatives to act as directors for companies for North Devon Plus, 2 members, and the nominations are Councillors Prowse and Broom, and 1 Ilfracombe, which is 1 member, and the nomination is Councillor Broom. The final recommendation is 2.4 on the report, which considers whether reappointment should be made to the Devon Rail Forum and also the Ilfracombe District Business Tourism Association. Nominations have been made to those appointments, so we would suggest that those places are filled. And that covers the recommendations, Chair. Take any questions.
Thank you. I'm sorry I didn't mention your name. This is for those that don't know, Adam Tate, but he stood up and got straight into his role if I could mention his name, but that's Adam. Councillor Roux.
Could I move those on block?
Certainly. Certainly. All in favour? Anyone against? Any abstentions? Item 11, planning code of conduct and review the scheme of delegation. Simon.
Thank you, Chair. Good afternoon, members. Yeah, so this is a report, just to perhaps for new councillors, it might be worth quickly describing. So the scheme of delegations gets reviewed by biannual council each year. So this is about the delegations that all council gives to the committees and also to officers to carry out the role that they do. So that's set out in the constitution in part 3. So each year that gets reviewed, and so the recommendation this time is that it's been reviewed. and it was recently dated. So generally the delegations are fine, but it's in our view, but that there is some slight changes to make. So the first one is to do with the head of planning, housing and health powers. So that's to do with the planning power to be able to decide planning applications at a delegated level and not going to a planning committee each time. So there are some exclusions to that, and one part relates to so the part that we're reviewing, and this is purely, it isn't to sort of change anything really, it's to make it clearer, so that there is less sort of questions, and it's clearer for members of the public and councillors and officers as to what it means. It's where applications are made by the council itself, by councillors or their partners, or by officers. Sorry, I can barely talk today for some reason. So that's the first part, and I've set, so we're just looking to revise, just to tweak it so that it is clearer. So that's set out in appendix 1 to the report. Appendix 2 relates to the terms of reference of governance committee. So this was taken to governance committee just prior to the election and approved there. So governance committee periodically reviews its own terms of reference, so it's the delegated powers. And as part of that, there was we just expanded on the standard function that just to make it clearer what that includes, and that was approved by governance committee, and recommended to full council. So that's why that's brought to you today. The second part of the recommendations relates to the revised planning code of conduct. So currently the planning code of conduct sits separately of the constitution, and there's been some it doesn't quite line up with the new model code of conduct. So that so partly this is to bring it up to date with that, bring it into the constitution in part 5, so that it works alongside the members and officers codes of conduct. And finally, to really just bring it up to date in line with the LGA's probity in planning reports, which goes through in detail what kind of things should be in a planning code of conduct. So that's appendix 3. So those are the recommendations for you today. Unless you've got any questions, that's
Fine.
I propose that we accept the recommendations set out in 2.1 and 2.2 by the monitoring officer.
Thank you. Do I have a second, okay?
I'll be second.
Thank you. All in favour? Anyone against? Any abstentions? Thank you. Carried. Item 12, appointment of independent person, report by Senior Solicitor Monitoring Officer Simon again.
So thank you again, Chair. So sorry, me again. And I'm sure council's going to be really bored of hearing me today, but yeah, for those that are coming along later on. But so just once again for new councillors, the independent person is the person who assists me in my role as monitoring officer. It's someone who we need to appoint by law under the Localism Act, and it's been the same chap for the last few years, Mr. Rob Jeans. He's very experienced, comes back extremely quickly to responses to queries from me. So the way that I deal with him is when I have a code of conduct complaint, and if it's one that needs to be to get an extra view on, then I will liaise with the independent person, and they assist me to come to a conclusion. So the recommendation is to carry on with Mr. Rob Jeans with effect from today's date for a 4-year term.
Councillor Morgan.
Yes, I'm just going to agree with our monitoring officer and propose Mr. Rob Jeans.
Thank you. Do I have a seconder? Thank you. All in favour? Anyone against? Any abstentions? Carried. Thank you. Item 13, assistance for political groups, report by Chief Executive Ken Miles to report.
Thank you, Chair. Just for members' benefit, the power to appoint political assistants was introduced back in 1989. And political assistants are people employed by the council who act on behalf of the political groups in the council, and you can have up to 3, I think it is, on the council at any one time. In days of yore, we did have political assistants. I think we had one, I think, for one of the groups, but we've not had political assistants now for 20 years, something like that, I would have thought, quite some time anyway. But this report is brought to you in case you wish to appoint political assistants. What I point out is we've not made any provision in the budget for political assistants, so I very much hope there is.
Thank you. Councillor Rowe.
Thank you, Chair. I propose that we should not appoint a political assistant at this time. Thank you.
Okay,
Secondly.
thank you. Right, let's move to note. We've had a proposer, we've had a seconder to note. All in favour? Anyone against? Any abstentions? Thank you all very much. That was sweet. Better than what I thought. The next one will probably be more interesting. People have a bit more confidence then and probably put your hands up in order to scream and shout. But yeah, thank you all very much.